Hey everybody, Matt Avery here. Welcome to another installment of our race day scoring certification training scenarios. Today we're going to be doing very basic training on race day scoring, and this is our certification class. So throughout today, you'll be learning the very basics of race day scoring. We'll be walking through a scenario on the very straightforward kind of setup, touching each of the parts of race day scoring that you'll need to know in order to understand race day. So I'm just going to give it a couple of minutes here and let people arrive. As people are arriving, I'm going to put up a little poll to see how many of you have attended a race day scoring certification class in the past, just to see what our crowd is like today. Great, got about 75, 25. So 75% of the people here have never attended certification class, 25 have come back for retraining, I assume, or maybe they haven't seen the product in a number of years and are looking into it again. Looks like we've got everybody in the room who intended to come, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I will turn off my video because it's going to be a long day, and let's get started. So today's purpose, again, we are going to be instructing you how to configure and score a very basic race with race day scoring. This is the really just for beginners. We are not going to be going too deep into any advanced scenarios. We have a ton of capabilities with race day scoring, and we have a lot of training opportunities for you if you want to learn more about those. But today we're just going to cover the topics on the right. Downloading and installing race day scoring, creating a RunSignup race in race day scoring, importing an example participant list, setting up a file stream to import the example times that we've provided to you, creating a timing location, mapping your streams to it. We'll be going into how to filter times to make sure that you're capturing the correct set of reads, setting up events and age groups, how to categorize your athletes, then collecting reads from your streams, viewing reports, and publishing results to RunSignup. So we'll be going through all of these today. And at the end, you will be taking a simple, quick quiz to make sure that you paid attention and followed along. It's a type of thing that we're not super concerned about you getting, 100% today. We're going to make sure that you get it all right, and if you don't, you're not certified. It's more just we want to make sure that you are following along, able to walk through the steps on your end and get things pretty much right. What we'll do is I'll be showing you how to do the whole setup, and then you'll be doing that setup alongside me or on your own time. And if you want to, you can certainly take all of the materials that we've provided to you and just do the class at your own convenience whenever you want. So we provide these certification tools to anyone who wants to take a look at them and certify themselves after the fact. So a lot of timing companies will just take our materials that we provide here and have their whole team self-certify. So always keep in mind that we're not making sure that you're getting this done today. You can do it tomorrow, you can do it the next day, totally fine. We will probably be going through all the quizzes on Friday at some point to make sure that they're all good. We'll be reviewing exports of races that you submit to us to make sure that you got it right. And we'll be making you guys all certified in the system officially, probably sometime on Friday. So we are using GoToWebinar today, and a lot of you are familiar with it. If you aren't, you can use the questions panel on the right here to type in any questions you have. We have a crew of Roger Bradshaw, Chris McDonald, and Kevin Lai with us today who will be answering your questions if you do have quick questions that need answering. Now, we also provide desktop assistance. If you are trying to get through the certification class alongside me and you're just stuck on something and can't get past it, feel free, just type into the questions panel, say, I need desktop assistance or something like that. Like, I need help, that's fine too. And Chris or Kevin or Roger will send you a link, and you'll be able to get assistance through that Google Meet link. Okay, so today, the things that you need. We do need a Windows PC. So race day scoring does technically run on Mac, but you can't collect reads with it. Most people only really use it for a kiosk or something like that, where you don't need to actually collect reads in that machine. We need a Windows PC in order to collect the reads from the actual files. So make sure you have that. Make sure you have a RunSignup timer account. If you don't have one yet, don't worry. We'll walk you through how to do it. Make sure you have RaceDay scoring installed. Version 3.1.9 is the latest. And finally, some patience. We're going to be taking things slow to make sure that everybody is on the same page as we walk through these very basic steps of RaceDay scoring. So if you want to jump ahead, and you certainly can do so, we have all the documents for you. You can go and blast through the steps, and I'll probably get some emails halfway through today's session saying, hey, you've got a quiz completed, and that's fine. Go ahead and do that if you want to. But today, in real time on video, we'll be going as slow as the slowest person probably. So let me launch another poll here. So I just want to make sure that everybody does have a Windows PC. So go ahead and answer in the poll. Great. Perfect. Everybody has a PC today. And let's do the next one. How many of you, or do you have a RunSignup timer account set up? It's like we're still waiting on a couple of folks out there, but most are done. So looks like everybody does have a timer account. That's great. We won't need to spend the time on going over that. Perfect. So the next thing is, how do we download RaceDay scoring? So I guess before we do that, let's launch the poll. Does everybody have RaceDay scoring 3.1.9 installed? Okay, so a few people do not have the latest, or they don't have RaceDay scoring installed at all. So I am going to walk through these steps. Okay, perfect. So if you do already have RaceDay scoring installed on your computer, all you need to do is on the main dashboard shown here in this purple title bar here on the right, there's a check for update button. Now, if there is an update available, it will switch and it will say, hey, there's an update available. So you can just click that button. It will start downloading the update. And sometimes it takes a little while. And sometimes it's like gets stuck at 66%. And then it'll eventually finish. So depending on the updates, sometimes it takes a minute to go through. Just be patient with it if it takes a while. If you do have to exit out of the software for whatever reason, it's not a big deal. It's not going to break. Just open it up again and try it. So just make sure you get updated to 3.1.9. And if the in-app update ever isn't working, we've had some situations where it wasn't working for some folks, you can always just re-download it from the timer dashboard, like how you originally downloaded the software. So we'll show you how to do that next. So in order to install RaceDay scoring, you need to have a timer account set up on RunSignup. This will allow you to download the software. It will additionally give races an easy way to grant you limited access to their races. So if you already have a timer account, you do not need to create a new one for this. Just go ahead and use your existing timer account that you already have. So if you are on your timer dashboard, you can go to Software, Download, Windows. So if you don't know how to get to your timer dashboard, it's pretty simple. runsignup.com/timer. And here it'll list out any timer accounts that you have. So I have a single timer account called Avery Timing. So go to Dashboard, and I've got my timer dashboard here with races that are I've been assigned to. So on the left, go to Software, and then Download. And you have to say that you agree to our contract, and then you are able to download the Windows version here. So just go ahead and download this. It will download an executable. You start the executable file, and it just installs for you. It's a pretty straightforward process, so that's all you'll need to do. Looks like we do have some questions. Yeah, if it's asking for a serial number and you don't have a RaceDay Suite license yet, you can just use demo mode for now. It's basically unrestricted use for demo, but if we notice that you start posting a ton of results under your timer account, we're going to give you a call. So go ahead and use demo mode for now. Just don't, abuse that. Okay, so I'm hoping everybody has got the RaceDay scoring installed now and has the update. If you don't, feel free to put a question in the panel. Otherwise, I am going to move on. Okay. Just 1 minute here. Yep, I knew I had a slide on this. For today, you can just use the RaceDay. You can use RaceDay scoring in demo mode. You will need to enter in a RaceDay suite license and code serial number when timing races in the future. So just know that for now you can use it in demo mode, but once you get your serial number when you get a RaceDay scoring or RaceDay suite subscription, you can just enter it right in there. And if you already have a timer account and you already have a serial number purchased, you can always find that information, not on there. On runsignup.com/timer, go to dashboard, go to software. Under license management, you'll see any serial numbers that you've purchased. If there is any that are out of date, you can renew them here. You can do all of your management of RaceDay scoring, or RaceDay suite licenses that are also inherited from Race Director. So if you had any old Race Director licenses, you can actually now manage and renew them from your timer dashboard on RunSignup. So if you don't know about this, it's really handy. And if you do have ones that have expired, it'll show you a note on the dashboard. Okay, moving on. Next thing is we need to access the participant and chip read files. So what we have done is we have put a nice little document together in the panel on the side under the handouts area. It's just a PDF with a bunch of links and steps in there. And this is our way of giving you all of the information you need that's relevant to today's class. And it gives you the basic steps for completing the certification and a link to the slide deck and some other materials. So go ahead and on the right, use the handout section. You'll see this virtual certification information PDF. And on the right is a preview of what that looks like. And you'll see the link to the slide deck, link to the participant list, the chip read file, the quiz, and the outro slide deck, and a few other things. So this is really what you'll need to be working off of today. And you'll see down here, there's a certification steps and affiliated help articles. So if you wanted to speed through, you can go ahead and just go down the list, make sure you do all the steps, complete all of the steps in the right order, set the right dates and times for each of the fields that we have here, and complete it on your own. And these links under these steps are links out to our help area, so you can learn more about creating a race or importing participants from a CSV, and so on and so forth. We will be walking through all of these in detail, but again, if you want to speed ahead, go ahead. So let's see if everybody was able to access the materials and the handout. Looks like everybody was able to get access. Perfect. So once you get the actual file, and I'm just going to demo this because it's easier to show. Oops, let me see if I can, there we go. Keep doing that. So I just have a copy of the PDF here. So what you'll do is you'll want to download the participant list and the chip read file. These are what we're going to be using to produce our example race. So go ahead and just click it. When you click it, it's just going to download it for you. You'll just see here, my browser has a little downloads thing. So it'll just say, hey, you've got this new downloaded file. And the same thing with this sample chip reads. You'll see I've got now my sample participant list and my sample chip reads. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to move these in my desktop so I have them readily available to me. Once I get that done, I'm just going to go ahead and unzip these. So let's see here, extract all. Go ahead, put it in my desktop, that's fine. And my participant list, extract all. You can put these wherever you want. I'm just putting them on my desktop because I have it nice and clean for today's presentation. So now I've got my sample chip reads, and I got my sample participant list. So it looks like the sample chip reads actually have another folder in there, but that's fine. We'll be walking through how to structure that later. So again, if you need to access anything here, you can just go ahead and click the links. There's links to guides. If you want it to, you can follow along on those guides as well. So let's jump back into the presentation. Okay, so very first step is we are going to be creating a race with RaceDay scoring. So let's get started. First thing you want to do is when you're opening RaceDay scoring for the first time, there's a few things that you can do. Basically, there's two kind of versions of RaceDay scoring. There's the main scoring kind of server style where you are managing and scoring races on this computer, and there's these two options on the right to set this computer up as a kiosk. If you set it up as a kiosk, basically it's going to connect to another computer that's scoring on the same network and be able to display results or be able to be used as a check-in or participant data entry computer. We're not going to be talking about that today, but those features are available to you if you're interested. Today we're just going to go in and manage races. So go ahead, open up the software and click Manage Races. So I will also do so on my end. So in RaceDay scoring, I'm going to click Manage Races. So we'll see I don't have any races in this computer. I have a clean system. If you do have RaceDay scoring and already installed and you've done some races, we've loaded some races up, you'll see your race list down here that you can load, export, or delete. First thing you need to do when you are, you have to click Create a Race in the top. So there's a few different things you can do with RaceDay scoring. You can import a race that's already on RunSignup. You can create a new race, or you can import a race from a file. So I'll explain each of those now. Basically, importing a race that's already on RunSignup says, hey, I know there's a registration event out there already that I have access to because I'm listed as a timer. So you could say import a race already from RunSignup, and it will be able to search through events using the date range you provide, and you can filter by race name to see, hey, I've got this race coming up in a couple of weeks. I want to load up the registrations and set up scoring for it. That will be the best way to do this if you are scoring a race that has registration on RunSignup. That will make it super simple. You don't have to download a list of participants and import it into RaceDay scoring. It just automatically all flows in. So if you're actually scoring a real race, you would probably want to import from RunSignup if it's on there. Now, if it's not on RunSignup, you can use this Create a New Race button, which we're going to be doing today because it's easier to demonstrate to everyone. And you'll be able to create a race completely locally, not using RunSignup at all. Or if you want to, you can publish it to RunSignup with one checkbox to be able to use RunSignup's results features for that race. You don't have to use RunSignup for registration necessarily, but it will create a registration page just so we can use the results platform essentially. And the final one, import race from file, is how you manage sharing race files between computers with RaceDay scoring. So you'll see down here, I have all of these export buttons. If you're a timer and you have your computer in the office, you build all of your race files on, you use this export function to put it on a thumb drive or email it out to your timer in the field that weekend, and they will be able to import that race from a file instead of having to create it all over again, or making you set up all of the races on the laptops that are going out to the right races, which is just a hassle. So this is how you manage importing and exporting race files if you need to transfer them between computers. So import race from RunSignup, that's if there's registration already available. Create a new race. If there's not registration on RunSignup or you don't want it to push results, you can do that. And the import race from file to manage sharing race files between computers. So when you click create a race, you'll be prompted to enter in the race information. Things like the race name, the time zone, the location of the race, the URL that you're going to create at RunSignup, and the email that will be sent. So today we're going to be publishing a race to RunSignup. So we do have to provide a few other fields like the time zone and URL and the email. If you weren't publishing your RunSignup, you wouldn't have to enter those fields in. So you'll see when you click create a race, you'll have this information at the top, race information. And what we're going to do today is we're going to publish this race to RunSignup. This is so that I can see all of the results that you push up and be able to verify that everything was done correctly. So today's scenario would kind of be like if you were taking a registration file from a race that wasn't using RunSignup, or they typed it up manually, and you're going to be creating that race on RunSignup in order to post results to. So it's a similar type of process if you do that frequently. So just make sure you check publish race to RunSignup and then fill out the form as follows here. So we have to make sure that you enter in like your name, don't enter Matt Avery. I've had some folks do that before. Enter in your name here, RaceDay certification as the race name. Enter in the time zone of wherever you're at. You can, actually, I think you should be able to just enter wherever you want. And then just fill in an address. It doesn't actually matter what it is for the test race. You can do test avenue. Doesn't matter if the zip code doesn't match the state, just gibberish. Doesn't really matter. We're just doing a test race today. So as long as the validation lets you put it in, it's fine. Next is the race URL. So this is important. Basically what this is doing is it is going to build a race website for you. So it has to have some tag at the end of the website. So if you just write like test race, it's probably going to say, hey, someone already has the race website, runsignup.com/test race. So you have to make sure it's unique. Most of the time, if you write like Matt Avery RaceDay certification, that's a unique enough address that it's not going to be already used. If you do get an error when submitting saying you have to use more unique address or something along those lines, just go ahead and type in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or whatever you need to do to make it unique. And finally, email address. You can use any email address here you want, but we recommend using the same email that you use to set up your timer account. So just make sure that you have all of those fields entered. And the next thing you'll do is scroll down and you'll see an area for event information. So we were typing in information about the whole race before. So there's a hierarchy of on RunSignup, there's a race, which is like a group of events. So you could have a race that's a 5K, 10K, 15K, and events are the 5K, the 10K, and the 15K. So when we're talking about a race, it's that big overall grouping of events, and events are like the 5K, 10K, 15K, the individual competitions within that day's events. So we're going to be setting up a single 5K for this one. Now, usually in RaceDay scoring, you'll always want to have a single event for each unique distance or each unique competition. Think like if you were scoring a race and you were posting up results, you'll usually have like a list of results for each event. You'll have like a total list of 5K and a total list of 10K. And you might have subdivisions. You might have like, hey, here's the top 5 people from this zip code, or the top 5 firefighters, but it's a subdivision of the 5K. So it's really the same thing, and what you want to do is just have a single event for each distance. So I have the 5K, and now I may want to produce some results that are a subset of those, but you don't want to have separate events for that. With RaceDay scoring, you want to have basically each event a single distance, everybody combined into that, and you can create subdivisions of those later down the road if you need to. Now for today, we're not going to do any advanced stuff. We're just going to do a single 5K. So I'm just letting you know, we do have a lot of capabilities to do all sorts of fun things with varying scoring categories, and things like that. So make sure you set up a 5K for the event name. And it's going to be a run or run walk. Doesn't really matter what you put here, so just go ahead and use run or run walk. Now, this is really important. You have to set a start time. So in RaceDay scoring and in RunSignup, there's a start and end time for the events. You don't have to set an end time, but you do have to set a start time. So what we do in RaceDay scoring is using this start time, we default all of the date fields in RaceDay scoring to use this start date. So a lot of times you'll see different date time fields in RaceDay scoring, and we use this default start as a starting point. So make sure you set this to our test race start date, which is a fake date, February the 2nd, 2022. It's going to be an evening race, 7:45 p.m. And we'll be setting all of our date, time, filtering, and everything like that based around this fictitious event on February the 2nd, 2022. So you want to get that right. Make sure you have, especially this date, correct. Don't need to set the end time, but we do need to set the distance. Go ahead and make sure we set this to 5 kilometers. Now, what's nice about RaceDay scoring is you can set this distance in kilometers, or you could set it in miles. And whichever way you set it, you can decide later on to change the way that you report the pace. So if you had a race that was on RunSignup and it was a 50K, but you didn't want to do it in minutes per kilometer, you wanted to do it in minutes per mile, you wouldn't have a problem with that. For today, it's easier to just say 5 kilometers instead of 3.1. So once you have this all filled out, you can go ahead and click create. We are not going to add another event here because we're just doing a 5K. Now you may have a race where you're doing like a 5K, 10K, and you would want to use that add another event button. To continue, go ahead and click the green create button. So once you've got this all set, go ahead and click create. All right, so now we have the race loaded. Once you get to this dashboard with all of these funny looking things, this means that you have the race all set up and we're going to start configuring it. So at this point, I'm going to just launch a poll to make sure that everybody was able to create the race. All right, looks like I got a couple of people maybe who haven't or weren't able to. So if you are still struggling, feel free to put a question in the questions panel, but most people have gotten through it, so I'm gonna continue on here. Close my poll first. Okay. Moving on. Before I do that, I'm gonna walk through it and make sure that we got everybody on the same page. So I'm going to publish this race to RunSignup. I'm going to call it Matt Avery RaceDay certification. Let's say July session. 1, 2, 3 Test Avenue in testing 11111 in Tennessee. And it tells me this is going to be generating a unique URL at RunSignup for this race. This will be added onto the end as a standard race website URL. This field expects numbers and letters only. Special characters such as period, /, colon are not accepted. We do not want to enter an existing URL or website. So this is not like the race's website, like www.myrace.com. This is used as a way to generate a new website link for you. So just make sure we get this one right. I'm going to use Avery at RunSignup. Call it 5K. It's going to be run 02/02/2022 at 07:45:00 p.m. And it is a 5 kilometer event. Go ahead and click create. Now it's going to ask me to log in to RunSignup because I'm creating a race there. So I'm going to go ahead and enter my password in. And we are all set. Got my race loaded, looking good. Perfect. Let's move on. So the first thing we're going to do once we get the race loaded is make sure that we are syncing participant data. So RaceDay scoring has a really, really great integration with RunSignup. We're built off of the same kind of architecture. So if you are using a RunSignup registration race or you're creating a race and pushing it to RunSignup and you've pushed participant data up there, all changes while you have this participant sync on will be going back and forth automatically. So once you start up this participant sync, all of the changes that happen on RunSignup will automatically be pulled into RaceDay scoring. It's like every 30 seconds or a minute or something, those updates happen. And on the same token, every change you make in RaceDay scoring goes up to RunSignup automatically. So you can not worry anymore about getting up-to-date spreadsheets, version 1, version 37 final. It's really simple. You just make the changes. They automatically all show up. You can leave online registration open until the very last minute, and check-in will be going on, and they'll be assigning bib numbers, and all of those changes will be reflected in your scoring platform. So this is like the biggest cool thing about RaceDay scoring. If you're new to the system, it has an amazing syncing functionality. So to do so, let's go ahead and on the left in RaceDay scoring, these little icons represent different areas of the app. The very first one down after the home dashboard is your participant sync area. So today we're just going to follow the second screenshot here and click Save Sync Settings. What this is doing is it's kicking off the sync process. It's setting everything up and we'll begin syncing participant data. So we don't have any participants yet, but we want to do this so as soon as we do get them, they're automatically pushed up to RunSignup. So in addition to this, this screen, if you were importing a race that was on RunSignup, you could go and select that they had, like, let's say they had some questions on their RunSignup registration page that were like, hey, are you a Clydesdale Athena? Or hey, are you participating in the fireman's category? You could import those responses down to RaceDay scoring. So you could see in your database here that Matt Avery was a fireman, or this person registered for the Clydesdale category in the triathlon event. You could decide on each question whether or not you want to include that in your participant info. You can go ahead and include them after the fact as well, but this participant sync screen is where you make those decisions. In addition to that, if you were doing a non-RunSignup race, you could create what we call custom fields. That would be like, hey, I want to have some indicator like a yes, no, or a custom question for a non-RunSignup race. You can do that as well if you needed to. So if you had special scoring categories that were within an event, you could create a custom field and put data into it for each participant you have. So we don't need to change anything here. It's just a simple race. So we're just going to go ahead and click Save Sync Settings. So let's do that now. I'm going over to participant sync, and it's telling me these are all the fields that are going to come down, or will be going to RunSignup actually. You can't change them, they're defaults, but if you wanted to, you could add custom fields. I'm not going to do that route. I'm going to go ahead and click Save Sync Settings, and this will start the sync process. One more thing you can see here that I didn't talk about was there's this Show Sync Queue button. What this does is it says if there are any pending syncs, so if you were scoring a race out in the field and there's no internet connection and you had added or adjusted some participants and you don't have internet, you'll see in here a list of all of the people who have yet to be, all of the changes that have yet to have gone to RunSignup. So RaceDay scoring works really well offline, and it will just queue up all the changes that you've made on this machine, and then when you get internet connection again, it'll automatically push them back up. Now, sometimes it will, cause some errors if you had entered in something that was invalid, and you could go into the sync queue and actually clean it out if you needed to. So it's just good to know. You can see in the sync queue if there's any changes that are waiting to happen in here. Okay. Next on our list is to import participants. So just a note, I've been talking a little bit about the different types of races that you can, or configurations you can do with race day scoring for creating races and importing participants. For today's session, we're going to be demonstrating importing from a file, just because it's easier to demonstrate to a lot of people at once. We have tried having everyone import an existing race on RunSignup, and the issue with that is because we have such a nice sync that everyone in the room connected to the same race, and someone fiddled with some of the participant data, and suddenly everyone's participant data was messed up, and people were deleting bib numbers, and it was a whole train wreck. So it's not fun to try and manage that on a big, broad level. So we're just going to do importing participants from a file because it's just easier. And it is a pretty good learning tool for knowing how to properly import participants who may not have come from RunSignup. And again, if you had connected to an existing race in RunSignup, those participants are going to automatically show in the app without needing to import them once you've saved those participant sync settings. Okay, so we're going to do our first big step here. This is going to be importing that participant list that we had downloaded prior. So go to the participants tab on the left, the little people icon. In the toolbar, you'll see an import button. Make sure that you've downloaded the file, unzipped it, and saved it to your desktop. We walk through that. If you need to, you can click in here. It's also in the handout. Then we're going to browse to the file. Go ahead and click this choose file link in the app. And then the fields should automatically map correctly. We see first name and we map it to our first name. We see last name, we map it to our last name. We see event, we map it to our event. And then go ahead and click yes, start import at the very bottom of the screen, and then we'll verify that all these participants were imported. So let me show you exactly what we need to do. So I'm going to go into race day scoring, into participants and teams, and I'm going to select this import button. So down here, we're going to select a spreadsheet to import ads and updates from. So we are using a CSV file. Now, if you had it in a different format, you could change using this spreadsheet settings panel. If you needed to do a tab, you can do a tab there, or a comma, or semicolon, I suppose. If you had a file that didn't have any header records, you could even import that. But this is just a basic CSV comma separated value spreadsheet that we've provided to you. So I have this again on my desktop under the sample participant list. And you can see I have a pretty straightforward spreadsheet here. Bib number, first name, last name, city, state, zip, gender, age, and the event name. So let's grab that CSV. Select a spreadsheet. I have got on my desktop under sample participant list, race day certification participants 2021. Go ahead and click open. So now we are given the option to customize what fields in the spreadsheet go where in my race day scoring database. So I've got a bib number column, right? I've got a first name column, a last name column, a city column, state, so on and so forth. I've got all these columns, and I have fields in race day scoring that I want to be able to map to. So by default, you'll see, hey, the first column in race day scoring is automatically mapping the first name column from my spreadsheet. So on the left are the ones from race day scoring, on the right are the ones that are coming in from my spreadsheet. So if I did a drop down, I could see, hey, here's all the columns available to me in my spreadsheet to map to race day scoring. So I'm going to say, yeah, that looks right. First name, last name, gender, age. If I had DOB, I would put it in, but I don't. Email, phone, all these things. If it has a star next to it, means we have to provide something there. So event name for event. I do have bib number, city, state, and zip code. All looks good. I have all of this, all of these columns of data that I am not going to do anything with. If you had to, you could change the date format If it was like a European race, date, month, year instead, you could use that to say, hey, if you're importing DOB, make sure it's in this other format. If you were importing a update spreadsheet, you could do that. If you had a race on RunSignup and you wanted to update a bunch of records, you could use this reg ID to update records instead of add. It's kind of a more advanced feature, but just it's good to know if you're working in a race that is using RunSignup, you can update existing participants in RaceDay scoring that match that registration ID if you map this column. So if you map this column, it doesn't import and add people, it updates everyone who has that registration ID. So just good to know, don't map this unless you're trying to update essentially. All right, so I've got everything set here and I'm gonna go ahead and click add update participants. And I'm gonna say, yes, I'm sure I have 1,825 participants, that looks good. And it will just finish up here and it says, hey, I've added 1,825 participants, and I have not added any teams. So I did not import anything with teams in this race, which looks good. So now if I click participants again, I will see I've got 1,825 participants. They're in here, and all looks good. Okay, back to our slides. Let's just make sure everybody is caught up and on the same page here. Were we able to import the participant list? All right, we are going to move on. Looks like everybody was able to complete importing participants. All right. Give me a second here. I need to turn off my notifications. All right. Streams are the next area of discussion for today. So streams are RaceDay Scoring's way of connecting to external sources. So this could be like a chip system middleware, like MyLabs, timing and scoring, ChronoTrack Fusion, or Simple Client, Race Result 12. Or it could be just a folder that you're dumping times into. So we have two main systems, a direct system and a file-based system. Neither one is necessarily better than the other. It's just some people prefer to do a direct connection to a middleware. Others are totally fine with using a file-based import. Both of them are automatic and will update as you are going on throughout the day. So you don't have to like import a file manually and browse for it and process it. It all happens in real time in the background without you having to do anything. So a lot of systems like timing and scoring have exporters that allow you to automatically output a file to your desktop or a folder, and that will allow you to basically automatically import all those times from that folder. So today, we aren't going to do an integration with a middleware product because not everybody in the room is using the same chip system hardware. So we're just going to do a file integration because every system out there has a file import. So this will teach the most amount of people the right way to manage file imports, which are fairly similar among each of the different chip systems that are out there. So basically, later on, streams feed their raw read data into timing locations, so which can be filtered in numerous ways to produce scored reads. So essentially what streams are they are the connection to the hardware that you are scoring with, whether it's ChronoTrack, MyLabs, Races, Pico, whatever. They produce a file or they do a direct connection with RaceDay Scoring, and they dump the raw data into RaceDay Scoring. So we get all of this raw data, and then later down the road, we decide which of those reads that I got from all my hardware I want to actually use. So let's learn how to set that up. So for file streaming, it's really important to understand this. We never point directly to a single file. What we do is we say, hey, this is a folder somewhere in my computer that I'm going to be considering to collect reads from. So this will allow you to dump any number of files into a single folder, and it will import all of the times from those equally. So some systems will like update a single file with new times. Other systems will add individual files with each push. So this allows us to support any of those types of systems. But it's really important you're not looking for a single file on your computer. You're looking for the folder that may contain a file. So there's ways in RaceDay scoring when you're setting up a file import to say only import those that end in .log or .txt or .csv, but you don't have to. We'll talk about that in a minute. So when you use this button at the top to start collecting reads, it will be importing times from a folder as long as reads are currently being collected. So basically, it's just always constantly looking for new updates or additions to that folder to see, hey, are there new times here, and import them as soon as it sees it. So it's happening in real time. So some chip systems require a different type of setup, specifically RFID timing, IPECO, and Trident systems. For more information on specifics of setting up streams for those different system types, we have a bunch of guides. So if you haven't already checked out our help system, if you go to help.racedayscoring or rdscoring.com, you'll be able to find all of these really nice guides on how to import from a specified system. So if you're trying to learn how to do Trident, we have a nice little guide here on all the things you need to do. If you are importing with RFID, we have all the stuff you need to do for RFID. RFID is a little bit unique. Same with MyLapse. Same with RaceResult. A few of these ones, we have actual video guides where we've done a walkthrough with a timer. So they actually show you the integration directly with timing and scoring. A whole bunch of these ones. So there's a full getting reads solution area on help.rdscoring.com that gives you all of the guides that we have on all these different specific systems. So if you do have any questions about what system you're using and how to set it up, you can check it out here. You can email us, raceday@runsignup.com, or you can schedule a one-on-one with us, which I'll be talking about at the end of today's class. So just good to know that all that info is out there. Yep, so this is what I was talking about. We have all these help guides. You can look through, watch the videos for to see how a timer actually uses RaceDay scoring with MyLapse, let's say. All that is out there for you. So by default, you may see that you already had some streams built on your computer. We store any of these existing stream setups to make them available for future races that will be timed with this computer. So please note that any streams that were named like start or finish will automatically be assigned to the timing locations that are generated for you by default. We like build out a start and finish location for each race. And on an older version of RaceDay scoring, we would automatically assign a default stream to those. We don't do that anymore, but if you are working on an older system, you might see that start is already set up and assigned to the start location here. For today, we want to unassign any pre-existing streams that were automatically imported if you do see them. So chances are that's not the case. So I'm just going to go ahead and walk you through how to build a new stream. Okay, so to add a stream, we're going to go to the Stream Setup tab, next item down in the list here. It looks like a little folder, like a Dropbox kind of deal. And we are going to select existing or create a new. Today, we're going to be creating a new one to look for times in a file in this folder we have. So go to Streams, click Add Stream. Now, we're going to be setting this up, and in general, streams can be used for between races. So you could set up a MyLapse file finish. A lot of times a timer will have a single folder that's like today's races and have a bunch of folders within it that are commonly used location names. So like you could have a start folder, a finish folder, a split folder, or something like that. And you could just dump today's files into there, or however you wanted to manage it. And we have, we have a lot of good details on different ways to manage your folder structures. If you are doing file streaming, feel free to reach out if you wanted to learn more about how to do that, how to best handle your system. Today, we're just going to call this MyLapse file finish. So I talked about this a little bit. Streams come in two main varieties, a direct and a file stream. Each chip system type can use file or direct system type depending on your needs. Some people prefer direct, some people prefer file. Doesn't really matter, they do the same thing, they work the same way. They're both just as fast at getting the reads into your system, and neither of them requires a manual process. So direct streams use a connection via TCP/IP to either a device itself, in the case of like IPCO and Trident, or the middleware provided by your hardware, in the case of like MyLapse or ChronoTrack. File streams reference a folder on your computer hard drive where chip read files will be placed and updated either by a device itself, middleware, or even potentially by Dropbox, Google Drive, OneDrive, whatever. You could set up a syncing folder so you could collect the reads in some remote place and store it back home if you wanted to. So for today's example, we are using a MyLapse read-lite file stream. It's pretty straightforward, it's pretty basic, and it's easy to set up and configure. So it was a nice one to show off. It's also our most popular system used for RaceDay scoring. So go ahead once you have the stream name added, and we're going to select a stream type. So you'll see in this list that there's all of these direct options, CT Direct, MyLapse Direct, RaceDay Direct, all of these direct ones, and then there's also a file option. So the file option allows you to select ChronoTrack file, MyLapse file, RaceDay file, whatever, or you could create your own. So what you need to do is select File, Customer Chip System Type, and then from the next dropdown, select File Type, MyLapse read-lite file. So when you select File Type, the stream type also updates to MyLapse read-lite file. That's how it's supposed to work. Don't worry about it. And I'll just show you here what that looks like. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to add a stream and call it MyLapse finish file, just so I can remember what it was doing. You can put a description in here, file stream for demonstration if you want to. Now the stream type, I'm going to say it's a file stream type of chip system format. And the file type itself is going to be MyLapse read-lite file. And see, this one changed. That's okay, don't worry about it. Next, we are going to select the folder path. So again, this is important. We're not pointing to the file, we're not pointing to the CSV, we're pointing to the folder that contains that file. All reads from all files in that folder will be combined into one big giant stream of data, which can be used on one or many locations for scoring purposes. For today, we need to create a folder on your computer and point the stream we are setting up to that new folder. So let's back up a minute. When we started today, we had downloaded those two files, sample participant list, sample chip reads file. So in the sample chip reads file, we'll see that we have a additional folder called sample chip reads. I think when I extracted it, create the new file in there. So you'll see if I dig down far enough, there's an actual file in here with some codes that are my chip reads. So what I want to do is point to this folder called sample chip reads. So on my desktop, I have, again, a file called sample chip reads v2. And then within that sample chip reads, I'm going to point to the sample chip reads because this is the folder that has my chip read file in it. So that's what I want to find. Let's go back to RaceDay scoring, and in my folder path, I'm going to browse, and I'm going to go to my desktop. I'm going to go to sample chip reads. I'm going to click sample chip reads again, and it says, hey, there's nothing in here, but that's okay because it's trying to look for a folder, not a file within a folder. So we are in the right spot. Go ahead and click select folder. And it says, okay, C user Matthew, desktop, sample chip reads. That's what I want. Perfect. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. When you click Browse, it brings up this Windows dialog. You can also create a new folder and put it in there, or you can just use the existing one. That's fine too. Doesn't really matter how you do it. You could use the existing, you can create a new one to put the file in. You just have to basically have a folder on your computer somewhere where you know those reads are. So again, we're going to select the folder. So if you have like the actual file on your desktop, like the F_3 on your desktop, it's really not a good idea to point to the entire desktop to reference. So don't go in and actually point to your desktop if you have a file there, because it's going to try and look at all of the stuff on your desktop for reads. And knowing some timers, they have a lot of things in their desktop that may or may not be reads. And so that could cause a ton of confusion in the system. So you really don't want to point to just the desktop. Put a file on, or put a folder on your desktop and dump that file into it if you want to. So the next thing in the setup is the file extension. So this is an optional setting. You don't have to put txt here. We default it, but what this does is it says it will limit what type of files it's looking for to those that only end in .txt. So in here, this is a .txt type. So it's only going to look for files within this folder that are of that type. If I had a bunch of other random files in here that were .exe or .csv, it would ignore those because I'm saying, hey, just look at the ones in this folder that are txt. If you have nothing here, it will reference everything in this folder. So today, not a big deal, but if you happen to, accidentally put other files in here, this setting filters the files in this folder to only those that end in .txt. So you can go ahead and leave it as the default txt, or you could blank it out. Doesn't really matter in this use case. Finally, very important, we have to say that this is a bib tag system. With MyLapse, they have two main system types, ProChip and bib tag. Bib tag is when the chip matches the bib. ProChip is when it's a transponder code, so it's like an alphanumeric string, and you have to provide a chip system cross-reference in order to say, hey, this transponder equals that bib number. For today, it's a bib tag, and we need to do that, otherwise the system will not properly import the files. So make sure you set this to bib tag. So again, if you are using a different system and playing around, when you select the system type, it may give you more fields you need to enter. You may have to put more identifiers in there. Totally depends on all the different systems we have available. Some have different needs or requirements. RFID, you have to put in like the IP address of the device that the reads came from, and a bunch of other different things. So today it's very simple. Just going to select bib tag and move on. Next, you can quickly assign a stream to a timing location in RaceDay scoring. So by default, when you build a race in RaceDay scoring, we make an assumption and we just add a start and a finish location. So a lot of races have a start and finish location that are separate. Sometimes they're combined together. We just go ahead and add a default start and finish as a way of making it easier for you if that's your setup. If you wanted to, you can customize it and completely change your location setup. That's totally fine. But today we are going to use the basic separate start finish, and it's going to be basically it's not going to be a chip start, it's going to be a gun start with a chip finish. So today we are going to add this stream to our finish location. So we're going to assign these reads to the finish. And make sure you use this main stream area. If you use backup, what that does is it says it will only use the times from this stream if a person on this stream does not have a read on a main stream. So like it's useful if you are typing into a spreadsheet like backup times, and you only ever want to use them if you've missed a read completely from your main stream. This is not how you would say, I have a main and backup system that are 2 feet apart from each other. You, in that case, would assign both of those as main streams because they want to be really considered equally. and you're able to assign multiple streams to a single location here. Backup streams is really for like if you are doing a photo finish, like a finish link system, and you use the finish links file stream, and you only want to use those times if you've missed a chip read for someone. So it's just important to understand that you really want to use the main system for any real like chip system readers you have on this location. Next, we have this adjust stream read dates and times area. So this is important for many races because some chip systems don't provide date in their chip read data, other ones do. What you want to do is set this to the race date for today because we are impersonating a race that's scored in the future. So we have to say to the system, translate all of these reads to as if they happened on the 2nd of February in 2022. Currently, this race happened in like 2017 or something like that. So I need to make sure that they all get transformed into happening on the on February 2nd, 2022. So use this adjust stream read dates and times little panel here, open it up using the toggle on the right, and then click set to race date and save. So make sure we get these reads translated to my start date of February 2nd, 2022. So let's finish this off in my screen here. I'm going to go ahead and set my file extension. It'll be text. I have bibtag as my system type. I'm going to assign the main stream to finish. So I'm going to say this stream here is going to be used for my finish times. I'm not going to collect start reads for today. I'm going to skip over all the advanced settings, and I'm going to adjust these reads because they actually happened way off in the past to the 2nd of February. So this is really only important if you're like doing a test race or you're scoring a race on a different day than it occurred, like if you had to come back and rescore an event completely, depending on the system type. Like this one, it says date values do not exist in the passing data from the equipment. So that means that if I scored a race on like over the weekend and I wanted to rescore it the following week, the read data doesn't know what date it happened, so it assumes that it's right now. So you would want to use this to force it to the date of the race. Go ahead and click save, and we will be all set. I now see that I have a assigned stream MyLapse finish file, and it is of the MyLapse read light file type, and is assigned to my finish. So this looks good. So again, name of the stream, MyLapse file, or whatever you want to call it, stream type, file, then MyLapse read light file. File type needs to be MyLapse read light file. In the folder path, browse for that folder. System type is bibtag, and we need to change the date on all reads to the 2nd of February, 2022. And then go ahead and click save. So before we move on to timing locations, let's just make sure that everybody is on the same page. So were you able to create your stream?
Hey, Matt.
Yeah.
Can you just show everyone, in case they have played around with RaceDay scoring, the general stream settings? Just want to make sure that like no one has like a chrono track set as their default.
Oh, I see. Yeah, some people may have used RaceDay scoring in the past, and if you have done that and you have configured your system to say, hey, I'm a chrono track timer, I don't even ever want to see my laps, you may have this stream global settings set up. So what this does is it basically just defaults your list to ignore everything but some specific system type. So if I were saying I'm a MyLapse timer and I saved this, and I tried to
Matt, can you close the poll?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Didn't know that was still open. So I'll re-say what I was saying before. So if you were in, let's say, a MyLapse timer and you had used RaceDay scoring in the past, what you may have done is set up your system to default to MyLapse. And when you do that, if you were trying to add a stream type of like chronotrack, you're not going to be able to. It's going to limit to only like MyLapse. more custom. So if you're not seeing MyLapse, it may be because you have this set to like chrono track and you can't see MyLapse because of that. So if you're not seeing it, just make sure that you set this to open-ended so you don't have a default chip system. Just makes it so you can see everything. And again, you have to click File, and then you click the type of file. So MyLapse Relay. So everybody got that? Yeah, I'm seeing some questions on that now. So make sure when you do this, when you click File, you won't see bib tag until you say, hey, this is a MyLapse file. So make sure that you've gone in and selected MyLapse Readlite from this second drop down here. Looks like we still had some people who were stuck on this, so please do just type a message in if you are falling behind or if you're missing something. We're going to try and keep everyone on the same page, so please just shoot a message in the questions panel if you're still struggling to get this working. All right, so what we are going to do, seems like everybody has gotten up to speed. We're going to walk through timing locations, and then we are going to take a little break, get some coffee in us, maybe have a snack or two, and catch up once we're done there. So let's talk about timing locations now. So timing locations are collections of one or many streams of read data. So again, the stream is like the full passing data from your readers. It's going to take all of the times on all of the files in this folder or in this direct connection and dump it into RaceDay scoring, and timing locations are how we decide of that big giant batch of data, how are we going to use them and assign them to our participants? What date ranges should I use? So all of that filtering is done in the timing locations area. So to read data from those, the read data from those streams is filtered based on the location type. So if you have a start location, we select the last time seen for each bib, and for finish or split locations, the reads are selected based on the first time seen. Most importantly, timing locations are where you set up your time filters. These time filters, they allow you to control what ranges of times should be considered valid for this location. So you're saying, hey, I have this range of times that I expect to be finishes, and within that range, I'm looking for the very first time seen for each bib number to be selected as used for the finish. And for start locations, it's saying, hey, look for the very last time seen up to some point at the side. So just a note on streams and timing locations. It's possible to have one stream assigned to multiple locations if you needed to. So there's situations where you might have to have like a location specifically for the 5K or specifically for the 10K that actually is using the same stream data, because you may want to have like a filter set. You know that the 5K is earlier in the day and the 10K is later in the day. If you wanted to say, I have a specific finish for just 5K and a separate specific finish for the 10K, but they actually are on the same mats, in order to do the filtering better, you could create many different locations using the same stream data. Similarly, you could tie many streams to a single location. So if you had like I'm not sure, you had like 2 different systems for IPECO that were on a finish line, you would create 2 different streams for them and place them both as main systems on the finish line location. So it allows you to have multiple devices assigned to the same location, or a single device assigned to multiple locations at once. And like I said, ladder can be useful if you need to have separate time filters for one event. You have multiple distances running over the same location at different times. So we saw this a lot with COVID, where they would have a like really long event day where they'd have a 5K in the morning, a 10K in the afternoon, and a half marathon in the evening or something. They were all using the same start finish location, but they needed to say, hey, I know everybody between this time and that time were 5K. I know everybody between this time and that time were 10K. And I know everybody between this time and this time were a half marathon. And this would allow you to say, I'm going to create all these different locations with their own time filtering rules to split out the read data from this single stream that I have that's my mats at this one location. So we're really flexible and we can do a whole bunch on this. So if you have any questions on best recommendations for this type of configuration, feel free to reach out, shoot us a note. We've dealt with all sorts of weird things that people have done. And so we wanted to just let you know that we are super flexible. We can work with any kind of setup pretty much. Yep, I talked about this. We automatically set up a start and finish location, but you can decide to change the defaults and create a single common start finish location instead. Okay, so let's go ahead and actually set up our finish location. In order to make sure that the correct times are assigned to the finish, you will need to set up time filtering for it. So by default, we are open-ended. All times are considered on this location. This lets the timing location know what times should be considered for scoring and what ones should be ignored. So let's go to the timing locations and click Settings for Finish. So let's take a look here. I'm going to go into timing locations, and you'll see I have my start and my finish. So I'm not going to use a start, but it doesn't really matter. Just leave it as is. I'm going to go into my finish, select Settings, and I am in my finish location setup now that we'll be walking through. You see that I already have my stream that I created assigned to it here, and it's selected to be finish and or split times. So let's go and walk through this setup. Okay, so this is just the overhead view. The most important thing is this finish and split point read settings area. So this is saying all reads collected before this time will be ignored and not considered as potential finish split read times. All raw reads collected after this time will be considered as potential finish split finish times. We're going to use the first time seen for each participant and ignore any that occur after that. So this is like, you have 5K and you're going to say, I know no one finished before 8:01 p.m. So go ahead and enter 8:01 p.m. and it's going to ignore all those times that happened before 8:01 p.m. And as soon as the first runner crosses after 8:01 p.m., it's going to say, well, I got a finish read for this person. Ignore everything that happened after. Ignore the times they came around and cheered for their friends. Ignore all of the reads when they were walking across the finish line after the fact. It's just going to select that very first time seen after this time you put in. So we're considering finish split finish times after 8:01 p.m. That's the earliest expected finish time, and we're going to ignore everything before that. So again, just make sure we have this set correctly. Very important to double check that date. February the 2nd, 2022, 8:01 p.m. We're going to begin collecting finish times after that point. It's going to filter out any raw reads from any streams assigned to this location that took place before this time. So the raw reads that are filtered out will still be available in this raw reads lookup for troubleshooting, but they will not be converted to scored reads. So you'll be able to view a list of all the raw reads, and you'll be able to see, hey, this read was filtered by time if it occurred before 8:01, and it would have been accepted if it was after 8:01, or it could have been ignored because an earlier read happened that was better. So you'll always have that data to look through, but we are going to say, hey, this read was ignored because it happened before our filter. The last thing towards the bottom, I'm going to say that I have a total number of occurrences set to 1 here. This is saying that I expect every participant to get 1 occurrence. Now, you may have a race where you have multiple occurrences, like if you had a marathon that's on a loop or something, and you have a 5K split, a 10K split, half marathon split and something like that are all in the same location. You could set this to like 4 and say, I expect every participant to cross this location 4 times. Today, it's a very straightforward, simple 5K. They just go out and they finish here. If you had a common start-finish location and you had people starting and finishing and you're needing to collect their and report their start times, then you would say, hey, this is 2 occurrences because I'm collecting a start and a finish for them. Today, again, we just need to set this to 1. And before we go, I'm going to just make sure that everybody is on the same page. So were you able to set up your timing locations? Nice. Looks like everybody pretty much is good. So we'll be moving on to setting up our scored events next. So let's just do a quick review. The last step we did was to set up our score or our timing locations. So let's take a look here at our timing location settings. So I have decided that this is going to be a finish location. So that will mean that it's going to accept the very first time seen for each participant, but only times that are after 8:01:00:00:00 p.m. And I'm expecting 1 single passing for them. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and click save. Now I have my finish location all set up. It's got my filtering, it's got my total number of occurrences set to it, and we'll be ready to go. There's a whole lot of other features you can play around with on the location setup. You can create additional filters if you need to do, not only do I want to collect times after this, I also want to say, hey, stop collecting times after, like I have a window of between 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. I could do something like this. So I want to really restrict the times that are collected here. But for today, I really don't care. It's just saying, hey, everything before this time should be ignored. Okay, so I've got that, and we are going to move on now to setting up our scored events. So scored events in RaceDay scoring are how we organize our main reporting system. So what we have is a relationship between registration events and scored events. So registration events are things like 5K run, 5K walk, 5K club pricing. Maybe they have like a 5K kids discount registration category. A lot of times we see that registration organizers aren't thinking about timers in terms of have all of these random events created that really aren't being scored separately. So what we did was we made it really easy in RaceDay scoring to say, I want to have all of these registration events combined in a single scored event. So if you were connecting to a RunSignup event that had built out their registration for multiple different event categories like run, walk, club pricing, age pricing, all these random things that are actually all being pooled into one report that you're going to build. Well, you can really easily do that in RaceDay scoring. You would just check the boxes for each of those registration events for your 5K run scored event or whatever you want to call it. So other times it's really straightforward and they just have a 5K run event and that's 1-to-1. It's just all the people in this event will be put into my scored event. So for today's example, we have a very simple one, right? It's just 5K run for our registration categories. In that spreadsheet, we just had a single event called 5K run. So it's a 1-to-1 mapping between registration event to scored event. If we have all these other categories, I can include all those participants and make it really simple. But today it's going to be just one. So go to the scored event setup tab, which is the next one down the list. I'll show you in just a minute. And we're going to use this option to do quick setup. this will automatically create a single scored event for each registration event you have available. So when we built this race, we created a 5K event. If you click quick setup, it'll automatically add the panel for that. And you can just go ahead and click save after customizing the settings you need to. So let's see what happens when we click quick setup. We get this panel that opens up for all these different things in here. So what you'll want to do is call this the 5K. It should default in with that name based on the registration event that is included in this scored event. We are going to do a clock time race. So if you wanted to do chip time, you could, and that would say also include the chip time column in your reports, and it will rank everybody based on their total chip time instead of their total clock time. And since we don't have start times for this race, we're not going to do that. If you select clock time, you can also choose to exclude chip times when generating default reports. When you save this page, it will automatically create a 5K overall report for you that you can run and look at and publish results for. If you want to, you can check this box and it will get rid of the chip time field from that default. So I usually recommend checking this box always. If you're doing a clock time event, it's less confusing. So I recommend going ahead and checking that exclude chip time when generating default reports before saving this page so you can make sure that it happens when you actually generate the default reports. And the most important thing is on the bottom right, we are going to set the actual start time. So this is like the actual gun start for the race. So there's a few different ways you can set start times in race day scoring. All of those different ways of setting start times actually just writes that file or that time to this location in the setup. The actual start time on the scored event is right here. And for today, for this race in the future on the 2nd of February 2022, it's at 7:44:00.031, and we are going to go ahead and click save. So just as a quick briefer on the way that start times work in race day scoring, we basically will say if it's a chip timed race, we're going to use their chip start time as their their actual chip time for their start. If they missed a read on the chip start time, we're going to look and see if they were a part of a corral, which is a different part of the system, if there were like different waves to the event. If they're a part of a corral that has a start time assigned, we're going to use that instead. If they weren't a part of a corral, we're going to use their actual start time set by the scored event. And if they don't have an actual start time set, we use this approximate start time, which is like what's being said on the registration that they think the time will start will be. So we have this kind of layered approach to determining start times for participants, and it all happens automatically. So let's go ahead and walk through this on my end. So I'm going to go into scored events here under the timing locations and streams. It's saying, hey, I have a registration event that's not being mapped to a scored event. So I can go ahead and click quick setup and it will create a scored event for each of these registration events. I only have one, so it's going to create one. All right, so it put a panel in here with all of this extra information. And now I'm able to customize this as needed. So by default, it's going to include all of the registrations from the 5K event, which we've imported already. And it's going to rank by clock time. And I'm going to decide that I want to exclude chip times when generating default reports. So let's just talk a little bit about some of these other settings here. So this default scored event is only really useful if you want to put everybody from, like, what it does is it says all participants from registration events not included in other scored events will be included in this one. So like if you had, you wanted to just quickly include all participants in one, you could use this. It's only really useful under very specific scenarios. So do not click this unless you understand what it's doing. It's going to pull all participants who are not in other scored events into this one. Over here, we are going to set the timing locations for the 5K. So in this case, I have a start and a finish. I'm not collecting start times, but it doesn't really matter if I select the start or not. I could also say not a time start. In this instance, it wouldn't make a difference at all. So you can choose to say not a time start, or you could just say start. Doesn't really matter. The finish timing location is finish. It's the only one available because it's the only location that is set up as a finish location. Now, what's really important to understand is that by default, we are saying, hey, this is going to be the finish for the 5K. And what the system will do is it will say, I expect the very first time someone crosses that finish location, that will be their finish time. Now, if it were the case that you actually had 2 occurrences on that finish, and you wanted to say the second time they crossed is their finish time, you would have to do some adjustments in your segment setup. So we're not going to walk through too much in the segment setup, but I will briefly show you what it would look like if I needed to do that. So keep in mind, it's always the first occurrence by default on a finish location. If you did say in your timing locations, hey, people are going to cross this twice, you would need to adjust that. So let's just finish this off. 7:44:00.013 p.m. and I'm going to save. And we will see scored events have been saved. Looks good. So let's say I did have an event that was finishing in the second occurrence. This is what I would have to do. Don't need to do this today. This is just a demonstration. There's this area called segments where I could define things like splits, but it's also where I say, hey, what is the start and end point of this entire race? The entire race is 5 kilometers, and it finishes at the finish location that I've set up in my scored events, but instead of occurrence 1, I'm going to say occurrence 2. So this is where I drill into more information on the entire race segment that is set up. And if I wanted to say at a split location, I could do that and say it goes from the start to finish, first time at the start to the first time at the finish. And I could do all sorts of different things here. We're not going to go into today, but this is how you define splits and segments throughout your race. But today, it's very straightforward. Just the very first time seen on this location is going to be the finish for my entire race. Okay. So before we move on, I think I have a poll here. Not for this one. Okay. So we're just going to keep on keeping on here. Next thing we're going to talk about is top finishers. So sometimes you'll want to have a top finisher category, which is like the first overall male, female, or the top 3 overall, or the top 1 masters over 40 years old. So, you know, the standard age groups, 19 to 29, 30 to 39, and so on. You may also have top finisher categories. So we are going to first set up these top finisher categories, and then we're going to set up some age groups. So let's get into this. This is the first time we're touching the age groups and group classification settings area, and we are going to set up top finishers. So on the left, go to the little trophy icon for age groups and click this top finisher settings button. So let's just let's do this. I'm going to show you as we go through the screens here. So I'm going to go and click age groups team classifications, and we are going to say make sure you have 5K selected here. There's you have to make sure that you select each event. So if you had 5K, 10K, 15K, you would select 5K, set up top finishers, then select 10K, set top finishers, then 15K, set top finishers, and so on. We only have one, so it's pretty straightforward here. Go in and say set top finishers, and now we are going to add another band. If any of you are race director users, this should look pretty familiar to you. It's a very similar type of setup. So we are going to call this like overall, and I'm going to say the short tag is OV. The starting age is 0. What that means is that everybody who is older than 0 qualifies for this band if they are within the top 3 in their gender. So this is saying everybody, regardless of age, should be considered for placement in this category. And it's the first priority. That means that if you get first overall, the very first thing you should get placed into is this overall category and not something else lower down in priority. So if you did have a chip timed race, you could score the top finishers by gun time. We aren't going to do that today. We are going to do separate gender. So if you wanted to say, you know, top 3 males and top 3 females, you could do that. You could do combined category, so male or female. In the case that's like a kids run, and they just want to say, hey, give me the top 10 overall. You can do that in this way. So what I'm going to do is say there are 3 males I'm going to pull out from the age groups and 3 females. And this setting over here is what actually pulls them out of their age group categories. So if you check this, it means that people who get the overall top 1, 2, 3 should not also qualify for their age groups. If you have a race that they want to give the first person who won 2 awards, the overall award and their age group award, you could do that by unchecking this box. So this is all we need for this band here. If you needed to, you could do more fancy things. You could filter participants and say, you could add a custom band for like, give me the top 3 people who selected yes to the firefighters category. You could do all sorts of cool things with this participants filters if you needed to do more custom type of categories. Today, it's a really straightforward, give me everybody who's older than 0 who finished in the top 3 by gender. Go ahead and click save, and we have our overall category. Now, if I want to do a master's category, I would just add another band, and we are going to call this masters. Oops. Description masters, short description, can be anything you like. I'm going to say MA. We default the starting age to 40, assuming that most people are going to use these bands as overall masters, veterans, super veterans, so on and so forth. We kind of default the first few options here to be like 0 plus, 40 plus, 50 plus, 60 plus. It's a priority 2 by default. So by default, it would say if you get first overall and you're over 40, you're actually going to qualify for the overall award, not the masters, because the overall is a higher priority. It's number 1, whereas masters is number 2. You can change all that. We'll talk about that in a minute. So instead of saying I want the top 3 overall, I actually just want top 1 overall for my master's categories. Now what I'm going to do is I need to decide on my band jumping rules. So band jumping is saying, let's just go back here. This is saying that, hey, if someone qualifies for both of these categories at once, so basically anyone who was over 40 was the first person over 40 in their gender, and they were top 3 overall, what do? Do I give them the overall award, or do I give them the master's award? This band jumping settings is how I determine which category they should get in the case that they qualify for more than one. So all means that for every instance, they should jump up and get the overall award. So this means if a 41-year-old got first overall, he wins the overall category and not the master's category. If you say none, this means no one is allowed to jump up to a higher priority category. They are assigned based on their starting ages and everything. So you're not allowed to jump up to an overall category. If a 41-year-old won overall, first overall, and if you said none here, it would mean that they got their master's awards, not their overall award. Now, if you're really nice, you could do double dip. And this is saying that, hey, if you got first overall and you were over 41, you should get master's and overall. So that's what that setting does. By rule is a very unique setting. It will allow you to set rules for each of the first 5 placements in these categories, and it will say basically like think of it like prize money. If first overall is $1,000 and third overall is 500 for the overall, and the first overall for masters is 750. Well, if a master's gets third overall, look at these prize levels and determine which is the best value for them. So you could set up some cool things with that. That's very rarely used. Default is all. That's most of the time what we allow. So go ahead and just use all for this. Okay, so I now have my masters category, and you'll see overall in masters on the left. We are all good. I'm going to X out. All right. So next, we are going to set up age groups. So age groups are your, 19 to 29, 30 to 39, so on and so forth. All of those subdivisions within your event that you want to give awards to. So go ahead and click Create Ranges. What we're going to do is, it's range insert, and we're going to just insert a whole bunch of age groups here automatically for you. And then you can come in and adjust or add single inserts if you wanted to, but most of the time it's best to start off with a range insert. So go ahead and click that, and we will get started. So by default, we have a range of 10, starting age of 20, ending age of 79, and the number of winners is 3. So this will generate these age groups that we see on the right: 1 to 19, 20 to 29, 30 to 39, so on and so forth. So let's say for this race, we want a 5-year range. So instead of 10, we're going to say 5. And you'll see that my list updates on the right. So these are the preview of what will happen when I click Add Age Ranges here. Now, let's say I want to actually start at age 10, and that's better. So it'll automatically insert upper and lower age groups. So 1 to 9 and 80 to 99 get automatically added to the lower and upper ranges. And this looks pretty good. So I've got range size of 5, starting age of 10, ending age 79, number of winners 3. So we are setting this to do female and male to be separate. Sometimes kids races or whatever just want to do, we don't care about the gender, just do everybody included in this band. It's just considering ages. You could do that this way, but today we are going to do male and female. Or if you had a situation where the female age bands were different from the male age bands, you could just add the females first and then go back, add more that are specific to male that are a little bit different. You could do that as well. Today, we're just going to blow in same age groups for both and go ahead and click Add Age Ranges. So let's just do a quick review here. Oops. Before we move on, I have all of my age ranges loaded in. You can see that I have female 1 to 9. It will call it female 1 to 9 for me. The short name is generated based on this data, and all looks good. I've got my male age groups. If I wanted to, I could insert an age band in there, and it will go to the bottom of the list, and it will automatically, like, say 100 to 119. If I needed to move this around, you'll see it jump. Like if I did like 32, it'll jump into the middle here. But I'm not going to insert a new one in here. These all look good to me. You could adjust the names to be like 80 and up instead of 80 to 99 if you wanted to. Don't know how many I have in those categories, but that is all possible for you to do. So let's just click Save, and all of our age groups and all of our top finisher settings will be ready to go. So let's just make sure everybody's on the same page. Were we all able to set up top finishers and age groups? All right, looks like everybody is caught up. That's good. We'll keep on moving now. So we're getting pretty close to the end. We don't have too much left to do. We're going to actually start collecting reads and looking at reports and stuff pretty soon. So the exciting stuff is coming next. So let's go ahead and start collecting our reads. So what you'll want to do first is go back to the dashboard. So at the little home icon here. And we are going to start collecting reads. So I've already set up my stream and it's looking at this folder, C users, Matthew, desktop, sample chip reads. So it's looking in that folder for any existing times that are there and any new changes that happen to it, it'll pick up automatically. So let's go ahead and click start collecting reads, and it'll start the connector, which is the process that is looking at that folder to see if there's any new times in there. So in just a minute, things will start to show up in RaceDay scoring. Now, if you hadn't already, you can go ahead and drop that read file into this folder. I already had it in there, so the system is gonna look at it and see it and pull our times in. So you can see I'm starting to get some data coming in here. So there's a few things going on this dashboard that we'll talk about. So you should see a few notifications show up. It's saying that some reads were detected that were already there, and it's everything's coming in, so that's good. So it's just telling us that there are some reads already in the folder that are processing. And yeah, it looks like I've got some times. I've got some placements. So let's look in and dig into the details here. So again, if you hadn't already gotten the file, you can get it here again. This is just showing what it looks like when we have all the reads. And now we're ready to start kind of digging around in RaceDay scoring and learning about where we can view the data. So first thing you can do is check out reports. So in RaceDay scoring, there's a little reports area down here that you can click to view the default reports that we had set up. So when I saved scored events, it created this 5K overall report based on the settings I had here at the time of saving. So I said I wanted to exclude the chip time when I saved this the very first time. So this report will reflect those settings. I also added age groups. So RaceDay scoring automatically creates an age group report for me. So I don't have to build this manually. So I can go in and I can look and see what the default report looks like. So I can see I've got my overall 1, 2, 3, my masters, all removed from their age groups, which looks good. Looks like I had some other ones. This person had a 0 age, so they're missing their age group assignments. But yeah, this is looking pretty solid. Now, one cool thing about RaceDay scoring that you may have seen is that all of these names here are links. So I could click Johnson and see more information about him. I could adjust his bib assignment. I could switch his event. I could set his corral. I could adjust his time. I could update his information. I could say this person actually is disqualified for whatever reason and remove them from results. And I can go ahead and look at his clock times. I can see if there were like multiple reads for him. I could look at them. And I can also go and say, hey, I want to look at all the raw reads for this person. So this would let me see like, okay, I know that he got a finish time at 20:04.8256, but I want some more details. I want to see like, I feel like this time is wrong, like we selected the wrong one for him. So let's go and look at his raw reads. Well, this one isn't a great example because I only got one time from him. But I'll show you maybe another person has more than one read that we can look at. So let's go to the dashboard. We can see this raw reads over here. So I've got 1,252 raw reads, and we filtered all those reads down to 812. That means I've got a bunch of ignored reads, right? There's like 440 reads that were ignored for some reason. So if you click that ignored reads, I can see, well, 411 were better reads selected. That means that I got a finish time for someone, and then I got another finish time after they had already finished. And I said, hey, I don't want that time. I want to pick the first time for each person. So these are being ignored correctly so. Now I also have 29 unknowns. I got a bib that came in, but I don't have a participant for them yet. So what I want to do first is we can take a look at these better read selected participants. So if you click this, it'll give me a list of all of the reads that came in where there's a better read selected. So Lawson Brown, right? This person here, they had a read at 8:08:40 p.m. that was not used because there was a better read selected for this person. So what you can do is you could type into here 3093, or you could click this link and it will automatically filter to see all of the reads for bib 3093. So let's take a look. Click 3093 and it says, oop, all these are being ignored basically. So let's see why that's the case. Well, I'm not sure why this one is all being ignored. Oh, that's why, because I have this better read selected drop down here still. I have to uncheck that. So now if I uncheck the ignored reason, it's going to show me all of the reads here. And it's going to say, oh, here's his first time, 8:08:12. That's the one that I used. This is the time that I said, yeah, the very first time after 8:01 is his official finish time. And everything that happened after that, I'm saying, hey, I already got a good time. Ignore these. So this is a really nice way to be able to look and see what's going on with your raw data. And again, you can click right here to just view all the raw reads. And you can see like, hey, starting at Johnson, very first finisher, 8:04, all of these reads are selected. And there's this one here, 4039. Whoops. This one was ignored, but not because there was a better read selected, but it's because there's an unknown bibber chip. 4039 isn't in my participant database. So that's not good. So what do? Well, we can go in and just click this unknown bibber chip. And we're going to say, okay, we can search for a participant to assign this read to. So maybe I've got this person in my database, but they don't have a bib assignment yet. So let's take a look. Let's see. Like if I go to my participant list and sort by bib number, all these people have bib numbers. Now maybe on RunSignup, there was someone who registered but didn't get a bib assigned. They would still show in my participant database in RaceDay scoring. And I could see, hey, this person doesn't have a bib assigned to them yet. So what you could do is actually assign a bib number to a person who doesn't have one using this unknown bibber chip setting here. So let's take a look and see if there's someone out there who was not assigned. Well, I'll unassign a bib. Let's do that. I'll go in and I'll see that in this little panel here, I can see that there's a bunch of people who didn't start the race. So I'm going to go and see a list of all these people who didn't start, and I'm gonna go in and check out Abby Carpino. So let's check out Abby because it looks like she didn't actually compete in the race. So Abby Carpino, and just for demonstration's sake, I'm gonna clear out her bib number, right? Let's say she never got her bib assigned. So I'm gonna clear out that bib, and what I'm gonna do is say, let's assume that she actually was that person who crossed, and she just didn't get her bib assigned. They messed up at check-in, whatever. So her name was Abby, and I know I wrote it down like watching the finish line, and you got an unknown, and we knew that Abby actually finished there. So let's go in and say, I know her name's Abby. What was it? Abby Carpino. Ah, there we go. That's the person we're looking for. She doesn't have a bib assigned, so let's go ahead and associate this unknown read with Abby. Just click select. And now if I go into here, I see Abby will be right there. Abby Carpino is now bib 4039, and all of the results will be adjusted for her correctly. So I could click in and see Abby. Guess what? She's now the first female. So that's great. That's perfect. That's what I want. So I could see in this little area over here, Abby Carpino is the winner of the females event. So that's great. That's how we were able to resolve an unknown read to a existing participant. Now, let's say there's another one down here. Let's just go and filter by all of those that are unknown. And I'm going to say, unknown runner, please see timer. That's like what a lot of timers will do if they want to automatically, put this read into the results, and it will let participants see, hey, there's an unknown here, and if your bib number is 3958, come see the timer. So let's go ahead and just create this record. And I have to put it in the 5K, say it's male and 0 age, or whatever, 1. So now I would see that there is an unknown no longer for that person. Let's go to the participant, that'll be easier. So I can look up unknown, please see timer, and they'll actually be in the reports now. So they got 75th overall. So if I go back to reports, I'd see in position 75, unknown runner, please see timer. So anyone looking at the results could come in and say, hey, I was bib number 3958. Please update with my correct info. So you could come into participants, go to 3958, unknown runner, please see timer, and just you can update them to Matt Avery and save. So that's how you would resolve those kind of unknown participants. And that's a variety of ways that you can do so. Some other things you can look at, I kind of went over this quick, but there's a progress report here that will show you, hey, if this were a race that I was collecting start times, it would show me participants in progress. So those who have started or hit a checkpoint along the way, but have yet to finish would show in this list. So here I've got, everybody has come in and finished, so no one's in progress. But I could see like all the finishers down here and take a quick look at all of their details. In addition, I could quick and run a report to see who has not started the race. All of these participants got a bib number, but they haven't started yet. So these are some useful little things to know about here. We show an overall roll-up, but you have to drill down into each individual event to see the details. Or if you wanted to do a little full screen, you can do this. So some other things in this dashboard, this top 5 gender leaderboards. This is just a quick way to see top 5 by gender for each scored event you have. If you had a 10K or a 15K or whatever, they'd all show here. You can quick just flip between the events and the genders to show. These are all based on your default report you have. So you have to make sure that that default report is all there and not removed or anything like that. You can come in and view the data for each person. If you also see down here that we have the recent reads at each location. So I don't have any people on the start because I didn't assign anything at the start, but I have some recent reads at the finish here. So this will, as you're scoring the race, will be updating automatically as people are crossing. It'll show their scored event, their occurrence, and the time of day that they crossed. A lot of timers will use this recent reads as like an announcer screen. They'll set up a second computer hooked up to an announcer, and they won't actually time or publish results from that computer. They'll just use it for this full screen functionality where you can say, hey, I want to view this in a nice big full screen. And then as participants cross this finish location, they'll scroll through. So this is a really cool way to set up a nice and simple announcer location. So that's a quick overview of the dashboard and stuff that you'll see as you are scoring a race. Another thing you can check out is on the right here, you'll see that there are 814 scored reads. So these scored reads are the raw reads that have been actually selected to be used for scoring. So you can check out like, hey, this is the actual read that was selected. You can see a split by event and by occurrence down here, and a few other things. So let's move on. We learned a little bit about the dashboard and about all of the read information you can find here. So we checked out reports. And the other thing we can do is you can edit reports. So we just build a default report for you, and we just set it up based on some assumptions about what most people want to see in their reports. Most people want bib number, place, age, gender, gender, place, age, place, city, state, clock, pace. Now you can always customize this to do whatever the heck you want. You can go in and say, I want to edit this report under Actions Edit, and it will jump you into our report builder, which will allow you to edit columns, add columns, or filter data for this report. So you could say, you know, I want to actually show the bib number after their name, you can just drag and drop these. You can change their, you know, headers. You can change the way these are displayed. You can add columns. If you wanted to add like the age grade percentage, you could just click that and go ahead and drop in their age grade. It's nice to be able to see right next to their age grade score that's calculated for you automatically. And you can filter this report. So you can say, hey, I want to show only those who were from this city or that city, or you could build a custom report. We're not going to play around too much with this, but it's all there for you. If you want to learn more about it, you can. We have a whole area on our help section on how to edit reports and customize them and move things around. There's a lot of flexibility in the report builder. So I'm just going to save this. And you can see here, I've got my age grade now populating in for all my participants so they can see, like, compared to other people who are 4 years old, Abby did pretty good. She has an 85%, which is like world class. So let's keep moving on. So one thing you can do is on this report, you can always search for participants. So in the quiz, they have you, you know, search for results for a participant or their placements. So you can quickly jump in and see 3897 was Johnson, or you could type in a name to look up their information this way. That is just a quick way to find all of the information you need to complete the quiz. You can also find all of that information by going to the Participants tab and looking up things this way. So you could come in and see Johnson's info and see all of their placements for each of their categories here. So let's say you wanted to find their age group place. Well, they got first in their age group. Or you can come in and go to the reports and go to the age group report and see, well, I've got all of these categories here. You could just go and look through and see who is in what. You can filter in the same way to be able to find Johnson. There he is. So one cool thing you can do with the age group report is go into actions and edit, and there's a few other features available for age group reports. You can decide how you want to display your age groups. Sometimes you want to show the females before the males, other times you want to show males before the females. Sometimes you want to group the age groups by gender. So this means like, hey, let's show male 1 to 19, male 20 to 29, male 30 to 39, so on and so forth. And then once we're complete with all the males, then go to females. If you don't do this, it will do male 19 to 29, female 19 to 29, male 20 to 20, or 30 to 39, so on and so forth. So this is a way to change the way that the age groups are ordered in this report. You can also say in the filters area, I only want to show the first 3 in this age group report, if you wanted to trim this down for visibility. So just let it build itself. And now instead of showing all of them in there, it's showing the top 3 per age group only. And you can export these. You can put them out to a PDF or direct to a printer, and so on and so forth. I showed this already. This is how you come in and look for their standings. So the last thing we'll do is we will go in and publish results to RunSignup. So by default, results aren't going to RunSignup. We aren't automatically pushing stuff. You do have to set up an autosave. So autosaves are the way that RaceDay Scoring automatically writes results to any number of different places. You can set up an autosave to publish results to RunSignup. You can save results to a file periodically, but most commonly used just for publishing results to RunSignup. So what you'll want to do is go to your reports, select autosave settings for the overall report. You don't need to also publish the age group report because RunSignup does that for you when you publish an overall report. So go ahead and click autosave settings. Click this little check box or the plus next to or under the RunSignup results area. and we are going to fill in this information. So the autosave frequency, the lowest we can go is 30 seconds. You can just call it 5K overall report. You can change that if you want to. Leave everything here, the default. You can change the custom or the questions contact email. This is basically on RunSignup. There's a way to submit questions about results. They should go to, like, let's say results.mytimingcompany.org or whatever. The timer name could be Avery Timing, www.averytiming.com, let's say. And I don't have a questions contact URL. You don't have to do any of this stuff, but it's just some nice additional features. And go ahead and just click Add Stream once you've got this all set. So the pace display, do I want it miles per hour, time per kilometer, kilometers per hour? Time per mile is your standard running pace. So we're going to go with that. And I'm going to go ahead and say Add Stream and save settings. Oops, I must have done something wrong here. So let's just get rid of these. That was email address, that's why. Didn't like my email address being improperly formatted. So now I've got some autosaves running, and it's saying up here that I can see that there's up to 1 report autosaving. So if you click that, it brings you to the dashboard. And in this new panel down here called Report Autosaves, I can see that I have a online results going to this results set on RunSignup called 5K overall, and it's running every 30 seconds. And it's currently running. I could pause it and resume it, or I could say, hey, pause all and resume all autosaves. So this is how I'm see and manage all of the autosaves that are running for my race. So if I go back to my reports, when I set up autosaves for RunSignup results, this new dropdown shows up, and it lets me get a quick and easy access to my results on RunSignup. So if I click View Results, it'll open up my browser and show me my results on RunSignup, and they're already there, and they're looking pretty good. I've got my overalls, I've got my masters, and everything is looking good. So now if I make any changes, if I come in and say that 3897 Johnson Miranda, I could disqualify him and save it, and I'll see in my report that Wade is now the winner, right? So in about 30 seconds, I could see here that 10:53:36 was the last time it ran. So once that ticker goes up, I will be able to refresh my browser and see that Johnson's removed from those results. So let's see, did it go up yet? Yep, it did. So now Wade's the first runner up there because I disqualified Johnson. So all of this is running in real time as long as this green light is on. So any changes I make automatically go to RunSignup. I don't got to worry about it. And in addition, any new results that get added to that file automatically get pushed up. So everything is happening in real time. I don't got to touch it. Really nice and slick. And yeah, this is how you view the results on RunSignup. So let's just make sure everybody's on the same page. We've been through a lot here. So were we able to, number 1, collect our times? I hope so. I was talking too long if that's not the case. Is everybody able to get their times collected? Cool, looks like everybody's good. And how are people doing with publishing results to RunSignup? Very good. So looks like most people are all set. So one of the things I think happened with some folks is that if all of the reads are getting ignored for some reason, sometimes it can happen if you all of the reads are on the wrong date. So it's very common that you accidentally had the dates not being converted to today. So remember way back when we were setting up our streams, we wanted to make sure that all of the read dates were the 2nd of February 2022 because the race date was the 2nd of February 22, and I did the set to race date thing to make sure we translated everything correctly. So let's say that I didn't set this. Let's say that I messed up and I didn't change all the dates to the day of the race, and I cleared all my reads. I stopped collecting reads, so I'm starting fresh, right? I'm just clearing everything out, make sure nothing is in my system. Let's say I'm starting from square one. So everything is out, and I'm going to start collecting reads again. And in a minute, it will pick up those reads that already exist in that folder, and it's going to do something different this time, because it's going to say, hey, what day is it? It's July 20th, 2021. This system doesn't give me a date because it's MILAPS. There's no date in the actual read data, as it says right here. So the system doesn't know what to do. So it's going to assume that, well, I guess the reads all happened today. That's the best I can think of. So what you'll see is that all of these reads are being ignored. And they're saying, most of them, that they're being filtered by time. So when you look here, it's going to say, hey, these are all filtered by time. All of these reads are prior to 02/02/2022, 801. So this should be a big red flag for you. You're seeing this date being set like sometime in the past. So make sure that if you are seeing this filtered by time, you double check my dates here. So this is the wrong date for me. So what I would need to do, clear all my reads, go back to my streams, edit it, make sure this is all set to the 2nd of February 2022, save it, and we will have to stop collecting reads and wait for it to go through. And once it's all cleared out, start it up again, and we will reprocess everything translated to the right date. Just a minute here, and it will all come through again. Okay, looking good. So I'm getting some recent reads. They're all going to blow in. Just a minute. Here they come. So let's play around a little bit more with some things. So let's say that you were setting things up and you accidentally set your timing location filter incorrectly. So let's say instead of entering 9:00 or 8:01 here, you had actually entered a different time. Let's say you entered 9 p.m. If you save this, take a look what it says. It says changes made here will not be applied to existing raw reads. Use the recalculate raw reads button on the dashboard to apply any changes made here to existing raw reads. So what this setting does is it says, hey, if I make a change now, it will only affect those new reads that come in after I save here. So if I wanted to update this and say, whoa, I messed up, I actually meant to put 9 here, I would have to click save, go back to my dashboard, and use this recalculate button. This recalculate will basically say, okay, I've got these raw reads already in here. I want to reprocess them with any new filtering rules I have set. So I'm going to recalc, and it will clear out any existing scored reads, then reapply any of these filtering rules that I've set up. So if you've adjusted your start time or your timing location collect reads from until settings, this is really useful. So I'm going to go ahead and recalculate, and let's see what happens in this case. It's going to drop all my finishers out. It's going to clear all my finish times. And in a second, it will reprocess all my raw reads for scored reads. I didn't actually check here, so it might mess up, but let's see. I'm not sure why it's not recalculating, but it should recalculate. It's funny. May have to clear it and redo it, but anyway, that's what you would do if you're on site and you had to adjust things. You should recalculate if you made a change to this area. So let's go ahead and finish out. It looks like we have everything done in terms of my polls, which is good. So let's see what we have left in our slides. Yep, we talked about pausing and resuming all the auto saves. And finally, we are kind of ready to finish up. We're going to be submitting our race for review. So when you are all wrapped up with your race, you can submit the quiz. You can click this link to access the quiz. So just make sure you fill it out in the browser here. I don't want to give you all the answers. I don't think I can. Yeah, so just make sure you go through this this little quiz here, put your name in, your email, and add in all of the details that it asks for. And we'll be releasing the scores for the quiz. Might be later than tomorrow afternoon, depending on how people do. If everybody completes it today, I'll get to it tomorrow. And then also go in and click the little Get Help menu item and submit your race file so that I can check out your race setup to see if there's anything wrong, what went wrong, and I will follow up with you to make sure that you get things corrected. So that's how we will do the quiz and submission for review. And so let's just talk a little bit about what's next for everyone. So if you want to learn more about race day scoring, again, go to help.rdscoring.com. It's a great resource full of guides on getting started with race day scoring, as well as more advanced topics. You can submit questions from here, but you can also use the in-app help. So this is really helpful for, if you're working on a race file and you need to have some assistance with a setup that you're working on. This will send a copy of your race file as it is in that state. It's also really nice if you run into a problem on race site and you need our support in the moment, we will jump in, be able to help you out, and we'll be able to see exactly what you were seeing at the time you clicked that button. So it's really nice, gives us a way to see what's going on. If you want to do a more detailed session, like on a one-on-one with Crisp, he's our training expert, you can do so. Go ahead and use this link, calendly.com/RSU RaceDay tools. So Crisp is an expert with best practices and giving you some guidance on how to set up specific race scenarios. So best thing you can do is, if you're interested in trying out race day scoring, pick out an old race that you've done in the past. If you have the old MyLapse timing and scoring event files, that'll be really helpful. We can just have you walk through and recreate the race from the ground up. And Chris is awesome at doing that. So what we recommend is picking out a couple of races that you've done or are looking to do that have very specific examples, and Chris will be able to have you set that all up. So in closing, this is just a few slides about the timer certification program, and once you're certified, what we are asking of you and what you can do. So first thing is be in touch. If you become certified and you're using Race Day Scoring or RaceJoy or any of our tools, we'd love to hear from you and hear about what you're doing with them. We do a timer spotlight. We'll do blog posts featuring timers who are using our products. It's a really nice way to get some visibility in the market. Our blog gets pretty good reach. A lot of people are looking at our site, a lot of race directors. So you might get some races if you send us an example of you using our software somewhere. We'll put it in a blog post, make you look really great. So definitely keep in touch. We have the Summer of Joy 5K is this Thursday, July 22nd. It's our virtual kind of RaceJoy demo session. So if you're not signed up already, do sign up. 5:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. EST. You can run the 5K whenever you want, wherever you want, using the RaceJoy app. It's super cool to get a actual user experience of RaceJoy when we're all used to kind of the back end stuff. So I highly recommend doing this. It will allow you, if you are offering RaceJoy, a really nice way of understanding how to use the product as a user, because you'll have to explain to some participants what they need to do to use the software properly. So definitely recommend checking that out. Now, Thursday, we have a ton of timer sessions available for you. So a lot of great quick hits on these different sessions. You'll see upsell your timer services, how to customize your result pages, streamlining RaceDay with a check-in app, extending the RaceDay experience with RaceDay photos, RaceDay scoring introductory overview. Not for you guys really, it's more for people who are like, hey, what the heck is RaceDay scoring? Why would I want to move? Shifting to on-site events, managing timer business, and RaceJoy certified timers update on RaceJoy. So a whole bunch of different things happening on Thursday. On Wednesday, it's more focused on the registration, fundraising, donation side of things. So if you are offering those, definitely check out those sessions, but we kind of isolated these timer sessions to on Thursday. So we'll keep an eye out for you there. We have some Timer Tip Tuesdays coming up with Chris and myself. Every Tuesday, we do a little 30-minute to an hour session on some helpful tips and tricks for timers. Sometimes it's on RaceDay scoring, sometimes it's on a check-in app, sometimes it's on other things. We have RaceDay scoring and RFID training session coming up. We have a RaceJoy advanced training coming up, and we have publishing results training coming up. So keep an eye on our webinars. We are constantly putting content up there and recording it, so you'll be able to watch it after the fact if you do miss the sessions. So another big cool thing we have coming up in the future, we actually are hopefully having a in-person winter symposium, January 24th to 26th in Orlando, Florida. Save your spot now. I am super excited to see everyone's faces again and get to shake hands. So block out that calendar weekend in Orlando. We'll see you there. So that is all we have for today. So I will be waiting and monitoring my inbox for all of these quizzes to come in. And unless there's anything else, I think we are all set. So does anybody have any quick questions that they wanted to bring up to the crowd, or any questions that the support team members had that I should bring up before we leave?
Nothing from me, Matt.
All right, well, thanks everyone. Congratulations for getting certified once you fill out that quiz. We'll be talking with you soon. If you guys, again, need to get in touch, use the Get Help icon in RaceDay Scoring. It's the best way to send us a race file. You can always call us. We are available on the weekends for support. So if you are timing a race, do not hesitate to send a ticket if something is wrong, because we are super fast with responding. And usually it's something really simple that we can help you out with. So make sure to use this if you need to. Don't wait until Monday if you have an issue that needs correcting on the weekends. We're usually not very busy on the weekends, so we have staff available just for that purpose. So thanks again, and I will talk to you all shortly. Take care.